So why don't we begin? It's 1 minute after 7 o'clock. This is the RTM Rules and Ordinance Committee meeting, regularly scheduled meeting. The agenda was published on the town website. There is, for those of you who want it, there are copies of the agenda, which was revised today, just to reorder how we're going to hear things. There are copies up there, and there, again, there's a sign-up sheet. If you want to follow any particular topic, you can sign up, and I'll try to send you emails notifying you of upcoming meetings on that topic. So let's start with the roll call. Richard, you want to do that?
That's my job. I call off names. John Hartwell, I'm here. Richard Jennings here. Susan Dayhill.
Here.
Sean Kelly.
Here.
And Ralph Murray,
Ralph is absent,
absent. Trish Anderson.
That's me.
Great. Peter
and
Henry.
I am here. The next thing on the agenda is the meeting minutes of 12/16, which I think everybody got. And were there any corrections that anybody noted to those minutes?
Nope.
So
Make a motion to
I'll
accept.
make a motion to accept.
Motion to
Second.
accept. Okay.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So the meeting minutes are accepted. So the first item on the agenda is to consider and, if appropriate, recommend approval of a request from Mikhail Walkers, Director of Planning, Conservation and Development, asking that the RTM approve a resolution authorizing the town of Branford to opt in as a member municipality of the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority, which is CMRA, pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 8-1692, I think that is. In the agenda, there were copies that was posted. There was a copy of both Mikhail's requested letter and the actual resolution. So I thought the best thing to do would be to start with Mikhail actually giving us an idea of what this is all about, so we can hopefully hear it and approve it.
Yeah, sorry.
And Mikhail, we're being recorded, so if you can state your name and for the recording.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to run the ZBA meeting on my phone. I think I switched over to my staff, so. Otherwise, they'll be contacting me shortly, saying
Thank you.
the meeting is shut down.
Thanks.
I apologize for that. Alright, so I'm Mikhail Wackers. I'm the Executive Director of Community Development, or Planning, Conservation and Development. For you tonight, we have a request to, recommend approval to the RTM regarding a resolution for the town of Branford to opt in to the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority. In the resolution, you'll notice that's termed the Connecticut Municipal Redevelopment Authority. That's the general statutes, how it's identified. They recently changed their name last year to be more encompassing. Their job is not just redevelopment, it's to support development in general for Connecticut municipalities. The purpose of this resolution
Mikhail,
is really,
can I interrupt you?
Sure.
Does that mean that we should be changing that terminology in this?
no, they did not change the
resolution?
general statute.
Okay.
They're just doing using
Thanks.
the other term as doing business as. So this is a new organization. Legislatively, it was approved in 2018. Branford actually did a TOD study for around the Branford train station in response to the establishment of that. Since then, the state of Connecticut has funded an actual redevelopment agency and makes those funds available to communities that are partners, are members of this authority. In order to become a member, you need to adopt a resolution by public hearing, and that's the purpose of what I'm here today. The resolution opts us into the authority. It does not obligate us to do any actions unless we pursue something of our own accord. I'm happy to answer any questions or go into further detail.
Okay. My understanding is that, as you mentioned, this does require a public hearing. This tonight is not the public hearing. what we're gonna do is, hopefully after we discuss this and make a motion to refer it to the RTM for approval, we'll actually request that they establish the public hearing at the date of that particular meeting, which is in February. And so that would be the chain of events there, and I think everything could then be approved in one single night, and we'd be done with it. The members of the committee have any questions for Mikhail about what this is about? Trish?
What's the purpose?
So, the purpose of this entity, there's a couple, is to support downtowns, town centers, and especially those that have transit-oriented facilities like train stations, and provide an opportunity for greater investment around housing, economic development in those districts. As you know, what it looks like is the state of Connecticut's going to basically require or add points and competitive applications for any state discretional funding. So participating and becoming a member now helps to position the town of Branford for state funding, as well as gives us technical assistance on how we can strengthen Branford's town center.
State funding for what?
Any discretionary funding. So could be for transportation, could be for brownfield redevelopment, cleaning up, expansion of infrastructure. But also, the authority also acts as an opportunity or a financing arm to access capital for a certain type of public infrastructure improvements.
What's our buy-in?
There is no buy-in.
So,
Trish, one of the things that Mikhail had mentioned in his letter, which probably relates to where you may be heading, is importantly, opting in does not obligate the town to create a development district or undertake any specific projects, but rather provides a framework and resources should the town choose to do so in the future. So we're basically, by, as I understand it, by adopting this, not obligating the town to do anything in particular. We're just basically opening the town up to the availability of support and funding, possible support, funding, grants, et cetera, for certain types of projects in the future. Is that
what's making this come up? Why is this happening? Why are we looking at getting involved in this? We've been a fully functioning town for many, many years, so why now? Why this?
Yep, no, it's a good question. One, in part, this is a new authority that was essentially funded in 2024, at the end of 2024. Municipalities have been opting in over the past year with we do know is that the state of Connecticut is really going to look to tie whatever discretionary dollars they allocate to municipalities, and that this will be one of the factors they'll consider in allocating those discretionary dollars. So we want to make sure we put Branford in the best position possible to capture those, and there are needs that could be financed through the authority, especially around a half mile of the train station, which includes the town center. And specifically public infrastructure, so roads, sewer, and other related type of infrastructure that the town center, this gives an extra tool that we could take advantage of. It doesn't really compel us to do anything, but it does give us advantages.
So, Mikhail, the Main Street project that's hopefully going to begin this spring, primarily funded by the state, is that the type of project that we would be more likely to be considered for if we join this development authority?
That's true. I mean, obviously that particular project wasn't influenced by
No, I understand, but I'm just saying going forward, is that
going forward, we have heard from the state that they're encouraging the municipalities to participate in this authority. And we believe that they'll start to make those type of discretionary dollars contingent. So if we're not a part of it, then we really shut the door or put us at a disadvantage.
And the map you've handed out here shows a fair number of towns around the state, including Guilford, for example, which is opted in, but Madison doesn't seem to have yet. Looking at down in Fairfield County, there's some that are in, some that are not. Is there anything to be read into that, or
Yeah.
are they just slow off the mark?
Some are slow off the mark. The ones that you probably looking at, either whether or not they have existing train stations or plans around doing trans-oriented development, would really are the ones that had an easier time of it. Many of the communities you see in blue probably did a transit-oriented development plan as well as adopted a district, so those were previously established. We actually did a transit-oriented development plan, but we did not adopt a district back in 2019. We still have that information, and we, opting into this authority, we'll be able to access technical assistance to explore that further.
Sean, you have a question?
By opting in, does this make the town beholden to anything?
No, I don't view it as beholding us to anything. Again, it's
Like, if we accept their money, then do we have to, if we're gonna take this, do we have to do this?
I mean, the short answer is, at the present, no, but the state is incentivizing that participation in this helps you down the road. Not opting to do this. It's, again, there's no membership fee, there's no requirement to allocate resources or funding at this point. Again, the authority is intended to help municipalities and provide coordination, but also access to capital. And it will become more of a robust, partner, especially when it comes to public infrastructure.
And does that money be used for anything, or does it have to be kind of in line with?
Yeah, so the authority was established specifically, right now the priority is a half mile around train stations. So Branford obviously is eligible from that vantage point. Again, they are early in their creation. They've really only been operational for a year, but they've been in concept for almost 6 years now. But the state of Connecticut only allocated $90 million back in 2024 to actually make a go of this entity to support municipalities.
Yeah, because you can see through the map that actually there's a lot of train stations that are on this,
Yep.
the opted in ones. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Who is the authority? Who are they?
They're quasi-public, so they are a creature of the state in that they were established by general statute, an act of the General Assembly. But they're intended to really allow municipalities to access, investment dollars and advantageous financing for public infrastructure. These type of authorities are fairly common in other states. And if you, it really is trying to just give another tool in the toolbox.
But who is it? Who are they? Is there a board of directors? Can we look them up? Can we find out who they
Yep,
are?
there is a board of directors. They certainly can be looked up.
Mhm.
There's an executive director. Trying to recall his name, Chris Lomas, I believe. He's visited Branford. He's sort of helped to give appraise us of the services they provide and the benefits. I did reach out to him and let him know that we were planning on going to RTM, and I'm hoping that he can participate in some level so that you guys can put a face to this entity. But at this point, I can't. Until you set up the date, I won't be able to know if he's
Mikhail, my understanding is that in terms of monies that may be coming from the state through this this group in the future, that would be not generally just general funds to the town, it would be for specific projects. You would, most likely it'd be grants for a specific project, and it would be applied for by the town. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Um,
Richard?
So is the Housing Bill 8002 tied into this in any way after the fact?
There's certainly, they're looking at ways to, that's a new policy of the state being mandated to municipalities. They're looking at how they can be supportive of municipalities throughout this transition and this change of policy. I wouldn't say they're coming down as a mandate, but as a resource, as a result of that, so.
What's in it for them? I'm skeptical.
No, that's.
I'm very skeptical about giving other people rights, ideas, thoughts of what to put in our town, especially around the train station. I'm just a little skeptical
Sure.
because somebody wants something
Mhm. Well, I think they're playing a supportive role, so.
for now.
Whether or not Branford opts to take advantage of essentially the resources, their technical expertise, whether or not we decide to adopt as a transit-oriented development district, is really incumbent on whether or not we see value in that,
Mhm.
and whether we are essentially looking to create a plan that supports where we want to take it. At the end of the day, they do want to support the broader mission that communities like Branford should be able to tap into resources, to dollars, and that this is an entity that has that type of mission.
So, Mikhail, if we adopt this resolution on the part of the town and join the authority, my understanding is that the town could, in the future, do nothing. Like, we could be a member and decide that we didn't want to participate any further for whatever reason. If, there was some criticism about what that authority was pushing in terms of ideas, et cetera. So we're not obligated, as far as I can see it, to do anything. It's really more of a resource that the state is making available to towns for specific concepts like development of transit-oriented districts and transit-oriented development. They're obviously trying to promote that, so they're making both resources in terms of research and information available and possible grant money, but we don't have to do any of it if we don't want to. We're still totally, as far as I can see it, in the driver's seat. Is that correct?
Who
Have you-
approached who? Who approached who? They approach us, or did somebody from the office approach them?
No, they approached the town of Branford. They are currently, it's a new entity. They've been making the rounds and making themselves known to communities. To be transparent, that's how this came about.
I'd love to know who they are, specifically who they are. Like
Yeah, I can provide
a list of who they
Here
are.
they are,
Oh, yeah?
yeah. So there are a bunch of development people around the state primarily, so.
There it is.
But they were, the board of directors, to say on there, were they appointed by the state, I assume?
They would have been appointed by the governor and then go through the
So it's
legislature
not
to
an
be
ad
approved.
hoc group, it's
Yeah,
it's
this is-
basically a state
This is official.
authority that's been established.
So, Mikhail, just to be clear, if we ask the state to help us with a project, then this is going to perhaps give us points in favor. If we don't ask the state for any project money, there's nothing gonna happen, right?
Of course, that's.
I mean,
That's a fair
it has to,
assessment.
something has to come from us before this actually has any impact on the ground.
Correct.
For now.
Okay. So,
And I would say it's largely on the discretionary dollars,
right,
where this
right.
would benefit the town. And when it comes to education or other non-discretionary support that the town receives from the state, then this will not impact that.
Right.
Could we opt out at any time?
Yeah, membership is not compulsory in terms of when you're in there. It's,
So you get out
yeah.
if you wanted to. Yeah.
Has, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like to me, in terms of your worries, it's just like the state wants towns to increase housing, and one of the ways of doing it that will have less impact on the environment is build them around train stations so people can walk and not use cars and all that. And in order to do that, they're setting up this CMDA to encourage, it's just a carrot. So we can take a bite out of the carrot, or we can just leave it hanging there. But I don't think there's any risk that I can
Yeah.
determine.
And I don't think that they're not, the transit-oriented concepts are not just promoting housing per se, it's promoting a whole infrastructure. It's a mixed-use, basically,
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah, and build
So
an economic
it would-
development.
It would involve all of the support
I will,
types of activities that you might want.
I will say though that the resources they currently have, so they were funded around $90 million in state funding. None of that money can be used for housing directly. It can only be used for infrastructure. So if your concerns are around whether or not they're there just to increase housing, they're not funded to do that. Certainly they can indirectly, but again,
It could be,
Oh,
it could be for the infrastructure in the housing development.
Well, we don't
What
know.
sort of projects have they done so far?
Good question.
I'm not aware of any projects they've done so far. It's not on their website. They've been sort of, again, they've only been around for a year, and as soon as they're trying to get the members that establish districts, you can only fund projects within districts. I would say there's less than a dozen right now across the state, so these things take time. I would suspect over the next year or so that you'll start to see that.
Where's Perry Maresca on this with development?
He's aware of it. Yeah, he certainly will be happy to ask him to comment on it. I don't want to speak for him.
Sure. I can call him.
Mhm.
Okay.
Any other questions of the committee? Any questions of anybody in the public here? Josh, did you have anything you wanted to say about this? Okay. So I would entertain a motion if
So moved.
we make a motion. I think it should be that we recommend that the RTM approve the resolution after holding a public hearing on 2/11/26.
Does it have to be approved? Can we just have a motion to have a hearing?
We're making a motion that the RTM
Here's it.
hear it
Yeah.
and have a public hearing and then vote on it. You know, we're
And then
saying that
decide.
from our point of view, we've looked at it and we feel that it should be acted upon, but it's up to the RTM to make a
I
decision.
don't like that. I'd like to have a little bit more time than just one meeting.
For,
Anything. If this is a brand new concept that we have to discuss, if we're gonna have some kind of conversation on it, I would like to have at least two. Have a public hearing in February, there's no time constraint, there's
the
no.
public hearing would be probably the last in the progression of things. So if you feel that more time is needed,
Yes.
that more time would be needed at the R&O level.
Why
I
can't we
think.
have a public hearing in R&O before we bring it to the RTM?
If we had a public hearing at the R&O level, then it would just go to the RTM without a public hearing. We wouldn't have two public hearings.
Right, right,
Um,
so have a.
My feeling, the reason that it probably could have been done either way, my feeling was that the RTM draws much more public attention. It's a larger room, larger audience usually comes. If you're gonna have a public hearing on a particular issue that affects the whole town, the feeling was that the RTM would be a better venue. Really look at us as just making a recommendation, number one, that it be considered, and number two, if we have any caveats about it, we could state those. but we're not, you know, the ultimate choice of doing it is gonna be at the RTM level and after it's been heard, you know, with a public hearing. Who knows how many people might come to that public hearing, but,
Did we have a public hearing on R&O for the short-term rentals and stuff?
no. It wasn't, a public hearing is required for this. We're not doing it just because we want to. It's a requirement of the adopting the opt-in.
Uh-huh.
They require that we have a public hearing and that it's a, you know, by the town legislative body. So, you know, that's the reason we're doing it. The real question, I think, on I'm guessing where you're headed on this is a possible feeling that you want to know more about this.
A lot
A
more.
lot more.
A lot more. I want to know who these people are. I want to know what their agenda is. I want to know what the concept is. I want to know why this is happening.
How would you propose that we get that information?
Have these people come.
Couldn't they come to the hearing?
I just don't want it to be one and done. I don't want it to be just a bunch of people coming in and just one and done. I want to have a multiple meetings because rooms could be packed. Things can go awry, and I don't want that to happen.
So you think that from gathering more information, what you really want to hear from is the board of directors? Or?
I want to know who these people are. Who are they? What's their main goal? Why do they care? What do they care about giving us money? We're a fully functioning town. What do they care? What's in it for them?
It's like any state agency that
The state agency, that's what worries me. They have a lot of teeth and they have a lot of
the
push.
state provides a lot.
And I don't like getting pushed around.
And dangling the money carrot.
I don't like getting pushed around by the state. The state's already done that stupid housing bill, and I don't like that either. I don't like getting pushed around by the state. And if we don't have to, we have our own resources. Why are we getting involved in
Well,
them?
This might preclude a bunch of resources that we might want for the town. I mean,
This has only been around for a year. I think we've survived long enough. This is brand new.
I know, but I mean, going forward as the town gets developed further, the state always provides various resources for certain.
So
X,
we're gonna
Y, and Z
we'll get
things.
penalized if we
And-
don't do this? We're
Well,
gonna
we'd
get
be penalized in the
looked
sense that they
aside?
wouldn't be available. That's the penalty, is that if we opt out, we don't opt in, then those particular resources aren't available to us.
So really, there's really no opt-in. It's a strong arm, get in or be left
No, I
aside.
mean, we can opt in and do nothing. I don't see that there's any, the way I'm looking at it, there's no compulsory aspect to this whatsoever. It's purely opening us up to possible resources.
I don't like it.
So the question was brought up before that should we opt in? We are not required to do anything. We could go 30 years from now and not do anything, and then one day we might say, hey, let's build something around the train station. At which point we could say, we're in your group here. Can we?
That's correct.
And I would point out that there could be development around the train station, whether we're involved in this or not.
Not.
If they follow certain guidelines, that wouldn't change anything for us regardless. That I think there will be development around the train station, whether we're involved in this or not, that still goes forward. I think this, as Peter says, all this does is it gives us a seat at the table.
Do you have an opinion on this?
I would like to see this adopted for a lot of reasons
Why?
by February.
Why?
Because part of this is that this is something the governor wants.
Yeah, see, you lost me
Well,
right at the governor. You
except for-
lost me there.
Except for you want funding from the governor.
I know, but
So
we're gonna get
we
funding
are-
regardless.
Well, we are moving forward. We are heading in the direction of rebuilding some schools. For example, the high school roof. We just did it we just funded $11 million for the high school roof. There are certain guidelines that if we do as a town, we get an automatic 5% extra on our reimbursement. So on $100 million, that's $5 million.
Didn't we just get something,
So-
oh my God, the Public Works, right? Did we just get something there?
No,
No,
Not on the state
not that
level.
I'm aware of.
no,
No.
nothing.
But, so, by
Oh, the-
opting into
never mind,
this.
that was the lighting, never mind.
By opting into this, it will help us get more funding from the state for some of those projects. Because what we're saying to the state is, we're a team player, now you should be a team player. We're doing this on our side, now we need you to help us on the other side.
Were they not a team
And I
player before?
believe, I don't know, there are certain things that if we adopt around housing, and I don't wanna speak out of school, so I'll look into it for sure. But as we move forward with the two schools, that we, kind of the plan that was adopted by the Board of Ed, as you recall, and rebuilding the two elementary schools and the one less, there's certain housing things that if we adopt, we automatically, right now, you know, you're around 35-37%, universal pre-K puts you up, and then you get another 5% reimbursement if you're involved with certain housing initiatives. I don't know if it's this one particular, but that's part of why I feel like we should be part of this, because we want to increase our state reimbursement on those projects. This doesn't cause us this doesn't change anything for us. I mean, I think part of your hesitation, which is, I'm not against what your hesitation, is that we're concerned about how the direction development is going in the town of Branford.
Mhm.
This doesn't change that. This doesn't make it more likely or less likely. It doesn't do any of that. It gives us some discussion and some resources should we move on with that. But the only upside is more reimbursement for those things.
But when you take money from an entity, you lose a little bit of control.
We're not taking any money. The money.
If we needed it, we would.
We've already lost the control. Any feeling of control we felt we had, it's in the state statute. We still have we're actually working, Michaela's working incredibly hard to get us to a place where we have more say at the table on some of the development, and I'm fascinated by it because it's pretty intense and fascinating. But this is what this is about. This is about we're gonna sit at the table so we can get more over there, and that's what this is about. So that is why I have brought this in the way I have brought this. I have asked Mikel to be here. I was late, sorry, the animal shelter held me up. That's why I've asked Mikel to bring this here, is for that purpose, and that purpose alone. Not for, I'm gonna play at the table. This helps us get more funding to do the projects that we know we're gonna have to do. So this gets us closer to a place that it eases our constituents and makes that the ability to do those projects easier.
Tricia, I think as I view it, we're in the driver's seat on, if we opted into this and we're participating as a member of this group. We're in the driver's seat in terms of what we want to have happen next. If we want a certain project to have happen next, and we feel that there's a resource both either for expertise or financial from, the authority, we take our project, our concept to them, and they can, along with anything else they're reviewing, they can say yes or no. We'll give you some money, we won't. We'll give you some resources, it won't. They're not coming to us and saying, we want you to do this kind of project in Branford and we'll give you money to do it. I don't think that's.
Not yet.
that's not ever gonna happen, the way I understand the authority. That's not their mission isn't to go out and try to promote specific things that they wanna see happen. It's to make a resource available. The resource is for specific things. In other words, if we went in and, we wanted to do something over in the northern part of the town, they're gonna say.
Stony Creek area?
Yeah, Stony Creek, they're gonna say no, because it's not, a transit-oriented.
So it has
Type
to
of
surround a train
project.
station?
It has to be within, as I understand it, within that radius
mile,
of half mile of the train station. Any project, anything we wanna do that's gonna tap in to this is just in that zone. Because what they are trying to promote by making a resource available is more activity to take place of this sort in a transit-oriented area, which personally I think is a good, conceptually is a good thing, that type of development.
What could possibly go by the train station?
Pardon?
I'm trying
That's
to
not
think
already there.
of, what could possibly go in there? I mean,
So not at the train
It's
station
a-
itself, but think about this for a
it's
moment.
a big parking lot.
Indian Neck, across from where the bend is around the
Mhm. By the brewery?
Yeah, so one of the things that's being worked on by engineering is a boardwalk along the north side of
Oh,
the
connecting the
Branford
two.
River.
Yep.
And part of that then is going to be some kind of crosswalk
Mhm.
operation there, where you go under the bridge, right?
Mhm.
So I'm assuming that's infrastructure, that's within a half mile of the train station, and if we needed $50,000 to put in some kind of massive crosswalk with lights and whatever, then we could go and ask for that money. And I think that that's the sort of project that could get funded by this authority. So,
I mean, I would just point out, there's actually a project sitting on the books waiting to go forward
Mhm.
in that half mile, and it's behind me, and we can see it if it was light out. And that's the old MIF. I mean, there
Mhm.
is a project sitting on the books.
Well, that's
not-
in court, that's good.
Well, but it's there, it exists, it's sitting there. This is all part of that sort of situation. Now, I don't know if that project's gonna go
Pardon?
forward or not, I don't know when,
Is that what you're saying,
but,
McGuire?
but this is all
Yes.
in that
Yes.
envelope
Yeah.
of reasons. But again, for me, I'm playing ball, you play ball now. That's what this is about for me.
My feeling is that if you personally are concerned with hearing from the people on this authority, that if it would be possible to see at least some of them come and participate in our public hearing. The format to do that I don't see as being our rules and ordinance meeting. I think it should be
At the
at the
RTM?
public hearing, at the RTM level, so that, a broad audience can hear it. The thing with the public hearing is that it gets noticed in a greater way. I mean, our agendas for R&O just go on the town website, and people have to look for it and be interested. The public hearing has to be noticed, in the papers, et cetera. So, the understanding that this is happening draws upon more of our community. So that, I think if there are questions, especially if involving the actual organization, that would be the place to do it. And I think the RTM is the venue, not R&O to do it. So again, to me, it makes sense that we recommend that we move forward with this. I think personally, again, I think the idea is, I don't see any negatives to it. It's opportunity. But if there are questions about it, those can be answered in the RTM meeting, and then the vote, if you or anybody else felt that you were still uncomfortable and didn't want to do it, certainly, you can make that opinion heard and vote against it where it's gonna be adopted, which is at the RTM. We can't adopt it, the RTM has to adopt it.
So you wanna make a motion to move it?
I'd like to make a motion to move it to the RTM, attached to a public hearing. And if specifically you felt that you wanted to hear from specific people, like members of the board, we can try to make that happen, I think, in, communications to them, get them there, and anybody else you think you might like to have.
But
come.
wouldn't that make sense if this
To
is?
me, it makes sense, yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm fine with it.
All right, we're on the same page there. Okay.
So,
So I would move that we approve the resolution as presented here with the public hearing at the RTM.
I just don't like that wording, approve the resolution. I would much rather hear a motion to say we're gonna have a public hearing.
Trish, we're not approving the resolution, we're voting to send it to the RTM.
That's fine. Voting to send it to
much
the
better words.
RTM, much better
To be
words.
heard in a public hearing
That's
and
perfectly
voted
fine.
on.
I don't wanna hear the word approve
Okay,
until
so-
later.
Can we
Yes,
withdraw and rephrase your,
as
so-
just stated, yes. I move that we send this to the RTM.
Perfect. Send it to the RTM with a public hearing
public
and people
hearing,
from the authority
right.
people. Michael will be there, hopefully other people from the town, and we can all have a kumbaya and figure out what this is.
in terms of facilitating that,
I
those
second.
people, would you be one that could
I've already made
reach
that
out?
request of them, and they're willing to. It's all a matter of schedules, and
Okay,
I've
so
heard-
you'll continue to pursue that,
I will.
thank you.
Thank you.
So you.
Thank you for
second-
indulging me.
Richard second.
Richard seconding it. I'll take a vote. Everybody in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So the next,
Quick question. Do we need to have people sign in terms of the minutes of who's here?
No.
In terms of the,
no, you
We
just
just
need to
note it.
note anybody that spoke.
it just,
The audience doesn't have to sign in. Is that what you meant?
yeah, I didn't know whether it needed to be in the minutes or was in the room.
So number 4 on the agenda is to consider and if appropriate, recommend amending Town Ordinance Chapter 157, Fire Safety, Article 3, and to add a new Article 4, as recommended by the Branford Fire Department. A final draft of this was attached to the revised agenda that went out on the town website, and I have given each one of you a copy of it.
Yeah, I read it.
So just a bit of background on it. Obviously, we'd established that myself, Susan, and Ralph would be heading up a working group, but this has all happened pretty quickly with just a couple of meetings. So I think we're at the point where we actually have a final draft. I had worked in a couple of Zoom meetings with Robert Dobanaski from the, excuse me if I got your pronunciation wrong, from the fire department, who is the fire marshal, to go over this in detail. We went over it, made minor edits. We actually had then that was sent to the town attorney, Bill Iniskovich, for his review. He came back with some additional comments. We made further edits, had another Zoom meeting in detail and went over, line by line, the changes. In the end result is that I think that the three of us were very comfortable with where we've ended up, which is what you see in front of you there. And what I'd like to do is to have Robert first just give a little background on why this is being asked for and what we're trying to achieve, and then we could discuss any detailed questions that you might have.
Rob Dobazinski, I'm the fire marshal for the town of Branford. Thanks for having me tonight. So I came up with a couple proposals here. One is an amendment to a private fire hydrant article that we have, and the other proposal is a new ordinance. So they kind of go hand in hand. With the private fire hydrants, what we did was I read over that ordinance, and it had specific dates for fire codes that were referenced in that. And it said, things like the fire hydrant must meet this National Fire Protection Association standard of this year. So in editing that, I changed the wording to current edition, right, so that we can move forward. So every time the state adopts a new fire code, then we'll be in compliance with the most up-to-date code that's accepted. All right. The reason that this part is important and the testing and maintenance of private fire hydrants is, we've had incidents in town where we've had fires, and We went to use a private fire hydrant in a complex, and that fire hydrant we found wasn't working. So we had to go to a different hydrant in the street. So there's two types of hydrants in the town. There's the hydrants that the town maintains, and we have the Regional Water Authority maintain those for us. And then there's private fire hydrants. Those are in complexes. Those are in condominium complexes, building complexes, things like that. Those are the responsibility of whoever that property owner is to maintain, all right? Obviously, we don't wanna see fire hydrants that aren't maintained, because when we go to hook up to them, if we can't get water out of them, that creates a problem for us. So that's why this hydrant ordinance is important, all right? And then the second part to that is going through Article 4 here, the life safety inspection reports. In 2021-2022 timeframe, we went to an online reporting system for all of our life safety reports, and they're all outlined in here. When I go do an inspection, I look if a building has, such as this building, fire sprinklers, fire alarm system. I look for those reports from the property owner, all right? So traditionally, we would get those the day of the inspection. I'd be able to review them, look at them, make sure everything's in compliance. For instance, a fire sprinkler system has to be inspected quarterly by a third-party testing company, and then they produce that report for us. Whereas a fire alarm system has to be inspected annually, and they'd give us that report. Putting it all into an online platform, I can get those reports prior to the inspection. I can get those reports on a more regular basis. So a couple things come into play. A building like a business, we're required by the fire code to be there every 3 years for an inspection. But every year, they're still required to be getting their fire alarm tested. They're still required to be maintaining their sprinklers. We might not physically be in the building to see that it's being done, but an online records management system that we get those reports pushed to us, we can see on a map of the town, a little blue dot that says the building's in compliance. So it helps us overall as a town be safer, and that's for all of the life safety inspections that are being done. So this ordinance is important, because we wanna get that information to us, right, to make everything a little safer in town. Right now, we have about 1,200 systems that we're tracking in the town, all right? There's still more to do, but this ordinance would give us the teeth to say this is mandatory, this is required that you submit these reports through this system. Right now, it's optional, but we are getting a lot of compliance, and we have, out of those 1,200, 90% compliance rate. So it's proving that it's definitely working. What the current system that we do, it also sends out notices to the business owners, right? So it'll send those out, and I'll use this building as an example, the sprinklers, when they're coming due for an inspection, the notice isn't coming from us, it's auto-generated in the system, it's giving them a 30-day heads up that says you have to call your company that you're getting it tested by. That gets us interacting with them. If they have a question about it, they call my office, we talk about it. It makes everything a lot better moving forward. We're leveraging technology to help out. Yeah. So if anybody has questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Anybody in the committee have any questions about
I
this?
do. You know I do. Is there a penalty to not joining this?
No, so the way, and I left it in the ordinance as whatever the current records management system is that the
Okay.
town's adopting. Right now, we're using one system. There's dozens of different software companies
Okay.
that you can go with. We went with this system, like I said, in 2021, 2022 timeframe. It's nothing to the town to use. When the vendor or contractor submits a report, they pay a fee to submit that report, right? So they may pay, I believe it's a $20 fee. So they do a sprinkler inspection, that sprinkler contractor is registered with this, with this entity. They'd pay a fee and they would submit the report. There's no kind of penalty on their end. They don't have the teeth to say you have to have this done. What ends up happening is I'll see, and every morning I go into work, I look at the computer and I see what's compliant versus what's non-compliant, what they've sent out for, requests, alright? But it's up to me still, as the authority having jurisdiction here, to follow that through. So we use them to get a notice out to the person. It's an official notice, but it's not a state official notice
Right.
saying we're ordering you to do something. That can only come from my office. So I'll get the notice, say 2 times, somebody's deficient in something. I'll reach out to them. Why are you deficient? What's going on? Do you need an extension of time? Is there an issue? How can we pursue this to fix it, right? You know, and that's how that goes.
Okay.
But Trish, there are fines, is that what you?
There's fines in the
There are
ordinance.
fines for not.
Yeah, for not being compliant.
Not compliant,
Yeah,
not reporting.
yeah, that's pretty dangerous to have a building, not have a,
Yeah.
You would be surprised.
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, so in the fine section for non-compliance, and that's specific to them not reporting it on our system, right?
Yeah,
So there's two separate things that happen. The fire code coincides with the criminal code, okay? So from my end, if someone simply doesn't maintain a life safety system, okay, we would do what's considered an abatement process, where we would send them an official notice to the property owner or to the person responsible for that system,
like a condo complex.
like a condo complex. All right, we would send them that notice, okay, we would give them a time frame to make the correction. If they need more time, we would do what's called an extension request, all right, we would give them, it's on a case-by-case basis.
It's like paying your taxes.
It's like paying your taxes. If we reach an impasse where it's not getting fixed, okay, then we can refer that to the state's attorney's office for criminal prosecution, all right? So it can go that route.
But who fixes the fight? So now that's in jeopardy. So if they're not fixing it,
If
the
they're
fire
not.
hydrants are in jeopardy to not working when they need to.
Yes.
And then you're gonna go through all this
Where
lawsuit stuff to
Yep.
get this to, but this is still gonna be a danger.
the fire hydrant, yes, if a fire hydrant's out of service,
Yeah.
all right? So, what we would end up doing is we would put it down on our mapping software that all of our fire apparatus have, all right? We would know that that fire hydrant doesn't work right now.
Is out,
Okay.
yep.
And then we would pursue legal action against the owner of the fire hydrant.
Well,
All right, it can take a short time, it can take a long time in the court system. I don't have a great
yeah,
gauge on how long that could take. It
it's
depends.
dangerous.
But we would know that it's out of service
Yeah.
also. So, again,
No surprise.
traditionally,
Yeah.
going back, we would get private fire hydrant inspection reports. They would be mailed into us, they would be dropped off at the firehouse. We didn't have a great way to organize them all.
Yeah,
So putting them into a system, right now we have about 70 private fire hydrant reports that came in, all right, and we're working on that. It's been one of our projects over the past few years to identify where the private fire hydrants are first, so that we can know that they're being maintained and tested, and that comes down to, I mean, if they're being painted, if they're being opened,
Right.
cleaned out, things like that. We get those reports in, and again, we can pursue legal action against them if they're not being fixed. But this part is to track them to make sure they are being maintained, right? So that's where those come from with the ordinance.
good. Okay, thanks.
And as you stated, tracking them to know what, at least we'll know which ones are not working
Yes.
while it's tied up in a court system.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a no-brainer.
It really does. It gives us a picture of the town, and it literally just gives out little dots across every building or every property where everything is tracked. Fire extinguishers, commercial kitchens, sprinklers, private fire hydrants, any of those things. And then we would know if it's in service, if it's a high priority. Things can have a violation, okay?
Right.
Like a sprinkler system can have a violation. It's not an impairment where it's gonna not make the system work. So
Right.
it's something that we would be tracking to get corrected,
Right.
right? So we have different levels that we would be looking at.
Robert, on the matter of the fire hydrants themselves,
Yes.
what has your experience been in the past where you have had private fire hydrants that haven't been either tested or in compliance that you know about, and you've approach the owner in terms of then them complying as opposed to having to go through some sort of a legal action?
We do get compliance, you know, I try to get compliance before having any legal action, right? That's kind of the goal of our office, is we wanna make it safer, all right? So, you know, that one instance that I identified, that was the start to the private fire hydrants that we were looking at. You know, we responded to a fire, the engine company went to hook up to the fire hydrant fell over. Right? The
Was
fire
it even
hydrant-
connected to the ground?
It rusted away. So you can tell that it hasn't been maintained.
Yeah.
Or some other things are, you know,
Understatement.
we live in the Northeast, so plows over the winter, condo complexes, businesses and whatnot, a plow, a vehicle, something might hit a hydrant, it might loosen it up, it might, you know, do damage to it, but nobody knows about that.
Right.
Until the warmer weather, when they go and maintain it and look at it, you know, and then they can report that to us, right? But if they're not maintaining it and looking at it, nobody knows that it was hit. So it's hit, a year goes by, 2 years go by. People don't think about these things until you actually need them.
So you need it, sure.
Yeah. So, you know, with that instance, I mean, we had an active fire going on. The crew got the fire hydrant. It didn't work. They were able to identify where there was another fire hydrant in the street. They were able to get that, get water out of it, and it worked out. But that was what started.
That's a trigger.
Hey, let's
Yeah.
really get on this.
Let's get a
We have an
handle here.
issue. So we don't want to just get compliance reports sent to us once in a while throughout the year. We want to organize them and see that they're actually working.
Mhm.
Right.
So any more questions from the
Is this a
committee?
yearly?
So for private fire hydrants, it's an annual requirement, those inspections, yep. Everything in Article 4, each one of those fire life safety systems that we define, they all have different intervals that they'll have to be inspected. So some things are annually, semi-annually, quarterly, and so on.
Having been involved with the fire, I'm familiar with some of them.
Yep.
And I realize that we have been trying to mark hydrants that were out of service for, you know, years.
Years.
But, I mean, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you know, with the Article 3 with the private fire hydrants, I didn't change a lot of things. Most of it was the verbiage. All right, for you know, using the most up-to-date current edition of the fire code. You know, there is a charge for non-compliance in the back. Now, again, with taking legal action, before we get to the legal action part, we have the ordinance that we can leverage to the property owner and say, you can be charged for this, we need to get this fixed, right? So it just gives us more tools to work with to get compliance.
Any questions from anybody in the audience?
What I was thinking when you were talking is there anything that we could help you with in terms of communications to the public that would make your job any easier? Because it sounds like you have to sort of wait and find out that the thing is broken.
Yeah, so, you know, it's, we do a pretty good job so far of getting out. You know, I try to get out and we use our social media. We use a lot of different avenues to get out there and do these inspections. And also by using a software system that's gonna track those things. This particular system that we're using is called the Brycer Compliance Engine. What they do is every year, they'll take and look virtually at the town, right? And they'll look at buildings and they'll, without going there and inspecting the building or knowing anything about it, this type of building most likely has a sprinkler system. They'll add that to the occupancy and then they'll send a letter out.
I see.
If they don't have a sprinkler system, those people will usually call my office. At least we get the dialogue going where we now know about that business. But they'll say, hey, we don't have a sprinkler system. I'll take it right off the property. Versus if they do have a sprinkler system, now they're getting notified that they have to, you know,
Have it
maintain it and have it inspected. So this program starts that conversation.
Sounds great. Good for you.
I like it.
So would somebody like to make a motion that we refer this to the RTM? We approve it and refer it to the RTM?
I make a motion.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nice job,
Yeah.
working group,
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah.
working group,
That wasn't easy.
yeah.
Okay,
Here comes the fun one.
so, item 5, to consider and if appropriate recommend that the RTM designate the town known as Jefferson Place in Branford as a town road as petitioned by the adjacent property owners. In our last meeting, we established a working group of Richard Jennings, Sean, and myself.
Who's Richard Jennings? Oh, sorry, my bad. My bad.
You're
The other one, that's not
You're
Ralph
new.
Murray.
Yeah.
You're new to the group, my bad.
Yep.
Apologies.
So, a couple of things, just to start off, the understanding of the committee is, there are two courses of action that could take place in terms of this road, the resolution of the issue of this road. One is the petitioners have put a lot of time and energy and documentation into the position that is already a town road historically. And they've given legal arguments for that, et cetera. So we're, as a committee, we're not in a position to evaluate that. That's not in our purview. That's something that the town would take up with the town attorney and has taken up with the town attorney in the past. And for a while, and I talked to Bill Anaskovich this morning, and he actually had sent me a letter or an email saying, as discussed, this will confirm that based on a preliminary review of the petition and supporting materials seeking a town road designation for Jefferson Place presented to the RTM by Jefferson Place residents and abutters, we would recommend that the RTM proceed under the process established by state law for accepting a town road into the town road system. We would also recommend that a title search survey be completed in connection with that process as soon as possible. So what Bill is recommending is that we take the second avenue toward getting this accomplished, which is to go through the RTM. The RTM by state law is the only body in town that's allowed at their volition to accept X, Y, or Z roads as a town road. The only caveat with that process is that before it is acted on by the RTM, it needs to be submitted to the Planning and Zoning Commission under state law for their review. My understanding is it doesn't require any particular outcome from that Planning and Zoning Commission review. It just requires that it be submitted and then we get comments from them. As soon as, and again, in talking with Bill Anaskovich in terms of timelines and the town engineer, as soon as this committee feels able, we can submit the material to the Planning and Zoning Commission to comply with that part of the action. And then after that, even before they've acted, before the Planning and Zoning Commission acts, we can send it to the RTM. After we've discussed it, we could send it to the RTM with whatever our recommendation was. That's the process that Bill is recommending we follow. So basically, he has put it in our lap to discuss. Now that we've had Zoom meetings with Josh and the town engineer just to get some background on what's been done to date. The town engineer on their own, they have pulled together a series of historic surveys, whatever they could find, of adjacent properties. And John Hufferly has sent those to me just for the record. There are probably 8 or 9 surveys in there of various vintages. Most of them are relatively hard to understand because they're very old and very rudimentary.
Rocks for
And-
boundaries.
It's a very old and very rudimentary road.
The
Yeah.
main concern that I have had in the conversations that I've had with both Josh, the town engineer, and the town attorney is that if we're going the route of the R&O reviewing the issues, and then making a recommendation to the RTM to adopt it. Let's say we're going to make it to adopt it. We need to know what we're asking the town to accept as the road. Right now, there is no particular survey of Jefferson Place as an entity. We just have properties around it.
Right.
And what's left over is essentially the road. So my position and thought was that the first due diligence we needed to make sense of what we're looking at here and discover if there are issues. I can think of issues, but we won't know until we get it. Have a survey done by a surveyor, basically defining looking at all the
Driveways.
abutting residences and their deeds and their surveys, and creating the leftover space, so to speak, which is
The road.
would be construed as Jefferson Place, and having that all mapped out. So all the various properties are all coordinated and on a single survey. I had a discussion with, Bill, by the way, Bill Anaskevich felt that was also a necessary step. So I think from the point of view of the administration, everybody feels that having a survey is pretty key to moving forward, understanding what the issues might be, and moving forward on this. My next question was, and Kurt is here, and I mentioned the possibility of a survey to him in an earlier email, but my question then would be, who's going to pay for the survey? Do we put that on the part, make that burden a burden of the petitioners? Josh has said that he is willing to take that on as a town obligation to have that survey.
What's a survey cost?
I don't know.
Ballpark? 1,000, 10,000?
It's probably 6,000-7,000. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they have to. There's a lot of research because each one of these
Yeah.
deeds has to be
And
looked
it's
at,
old.
and then they have to go out and
And the history is
map
old.
Map
Yeah.
it all out. And I made a list for John Hofferly, who would be the one to coordinate the survey of elements of the survey that I felt were important to
Mhm.
have on it. In addition to just the property lines themselves, we would want to know any physical features. We'd want to know where the pavement lay within that property boundary. We would want to know where any encroachments, if there was encroachments from the various properties across those property lines or near to them, we'd want them mapped out. And I think we would want the sewer manholes. There's sewer down that road.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, because there is a sewer system down there.
There's a sewer system down there, which I think you got the
The pictures.
pictures.
Yep,
And
yep.
it shows it, and it actually runs down, sort of up and down the road
Right.
and across a couple of the last residences.
So nobody has a well down there. It's all public water.
I think it's all public water.
It's all public, so,
That's correct, isn't it, Kurt? Correct. Yeah. So, though, at a minimum, those would be the kinds of things that I think ought to be on the survey so that we could identify any problems. In addition, one additional question, which I could be more difficult to figure out how to resolve, but right now on the town's GIS map, the road stops short of the last two properties in terms of the boundaries
Mhm.
shown,
I saw
but
it.
the roadway, the pavement, continues on
Mhm.
down to Kurt's house.
Do we
At the
know when
bottom.
the sewer was put in?
Do we know when it was put in?
Mm-hmm.
The they have,
Usually,
dates on a manhole, right?
Usually when you put in sewer systems, you get the contribution from the residents is often the case, right? If you're
Yeah,
extending into a new place, so.
I don't know the history of it, but,
So I'm
you
just
know,
wondering if that was done and if that was documented.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure there may be some documentation of it. I don't think it's critical to where we're going here, but I guess what I'm was leading up to with the termination of the road
Mm.
is that, again, in discussions with Kurt and the petitioners, I think there is a desire that what's designated as Jefferson Place extend beyond what's shown currently and goes, at least if the property boundaries shown in the GIS are correct, would go across a residential piece of property and down to the furthest residence. and terminate there rather than where it appears to terminate
That red line on the picture.
on the
Yep.
RTM document. And if you look at the pavement, there's actually
Right.
a difference in pavement
Mm-hmm.
at that point too.
You
So
turn
those,
from a
that,
road to a driveway.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking at that as sort of a separate set of issues, concerns, things that
Circumstances,
may need
yeah.
some level to figure out how to resolve.
Interesting.
But the survey, my point being that the survey that we're requesting should include an extension down into those two last properties, so that we know what we're talking about in terms of where the pavement is, where the property lines for those two residents currently are deeded, et cetera. So that's sort of where we are now, with the idea that from the point of view of our committee following this up. Before we spend, I think, a lot of time discussing a lot of detail with this, we need the survey done. Because I think it may resolve a lot of questions, and it may make
More.
some more questions.
So you
But
think,
we really can't, I think it would be sort of fruitless for us to spend much time on this until the survey is done. So I've asked the engineer to give me an idea of the ETA for doing it, and I would think at an absolute minimum, we're talking about a month, and it could be longer, because the surveyor that the town uses is pretty jammed up, as I understand it. So we need to get a timeline on that, and as soon as we have the survey, I think we can start to do all the legwork surrounding this, and figure out how to move forward with it.
So do we need to refer this to the RTM?
We do. I did ask Kurt, and I think a lot of the people in the audience are probably abutters to Jefferson Place, but to give a quick presentation of just historically where they've been, what their position is on the road. Yeah, Josh?
I would just like to back up when it comes to the survey. And the piece you talked about, extending it. I think part of that process will be the town, once we do the survey and we say, all right, this is the road, this is where it's gonna start, this is where it's gonna end, we would have negotiations with the appropriate property owners and say, this is the proposal that the town will accept as a town road, you know, and whatever, to whatever point that is, where the road makes a turn in his house. And then that, because there are some sort of rules with setbacks and easements and blah, 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 you know, I don't fully, but those are the discussions. So once, not only will we make that survey so that everybody's on the same page, but before we come to you with the survey, so you don't have to do, you know, more work, we will have those discussions and negotiations with the abutting property owners that this area of the road is what you consider to be acceptable, both from an aspect of give and take. You know, maybe we're taking a little bit more of your sidewalk as an easement than you would hope for, but that's what we have to do. And we're gonna go farther with the road because it's appropriate. So I think all of those negotiations and discussions will happen once we have the survey and prior to coming back to you with that.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that if after the initial part of the survey determines, let's say, that the road from the current set of boundaries does end roughly where it's shown on the GIS map and does not go all the way down to Kurt's house, then the town would have to, if they so desired, enter into some negotiations. There'd have to be some, you know, deed changes for extension of that road if you decided that extending it was appropriate. You discuss that before it comes to us. You'll already sort of negotiate that question.
We'll have an agreement with all parties involved before we come to you, so you know, we're not voting and then coming back and all that. You know, we'll make all of those arrangements prior to coming back to you, you know,
Yeah.
before we do any changes on deeds or anything else.
Right.
We will do all, we will get,
You'll have a
so
plan.
we'll
You'll
make
come
those
back with a plan,
negotiations, make
effective.
that happen, come to you that this is the final product, and then once if it's approved, but once it's approved, then we'll make all the changes on the
Yeah.
deeds.
The
We
only,
have to do a title search too, and I believe the intention was maybe after this meeting, we'll start that process as well, cause that also can be very timely.
Yeah, well, the survey always would require title searches. So the one thing I would request, though, is that at least the sub-working group for this committee could be included, understand the process that you're going through. Once that's done, then their discussions
Absolutely.
will be part
Without
of that,
question.
so that we understand how it's been
Without question.
resolved.
Mostly, we're gonna lean on you anyway, so
Okay.
absolutely.
So Kurt, do you want to?
Sure.
Oh, getting presentation?
First, I just want to thank you all, and thank you for your support on this. And
You've got a
there
piece of
are
paper on the floor.
It's
There
just
are
an
other-
idea.
Oh, okay.
The
Sorry.
agenda.
are other petitioners here, my wife and Dave is, what's your address, Dave?
18 Jefferson.
And Hector.
33 Jefferson.
So we are the people at the end of the road that you're talking about, Hector and myself. Peter, you asked me to give a quick process summary, so I'm gonna do that first. We have some additional submittals for you, we'll give them to you.
Okay.
And then I do wanna spend a few minutes at the end on this question of the end of the road, historically. So, the process. I met with the town engineer and First Selectman Cosgrove in the fall of '23 to discuss green stormwater treatment alternatives for Jefferson Place. And I was informed at that time that Jefferson Place was not a town road. And I shared that information with the neighbors. We were all a little shocked by that, quite honestly, because we purchased our properties in reliance on the fact that surveys had stated it was a town road. And also the town had plowed, collected garbage, done minor improvements to the road for decades, consistent with the town road. So then the next thing that happened is after plowing at the beginning of the winter, the town abruptly stopped plowing Jefferson Place in February 2024. There was about 4 or 6 inches of snow. We called town hall and there was another snowstorm afterwards, and Public Works just said, I'm sorry, you're a private road, we're not plowing you anymore. So that created a impetus for all of us to meet with our RTM representatives in February of 2024. And then we got together and signed the petition that you have requiring acknowledgement or declaration of Jefferson Place as a town road in late October 2024. So you guys have that petition. Next step, we are guided by Branford historian Jane Booley. Jane, you may know, wrote a wonderful book on the origin and names of Branford streets, and she goes into a lot of detail about the history of each street and how it was adopted and when it was adopted as a town road. So with her input, we began collecting the evidence that you have or will have by the end of this evening before you, basically about the 1930 petition process. What happened in 1930, there was a petition brought to the town meeting, in September, and that petition stated that the town shall accept all roads used by the public in Short Beach as town roads. And that passed. It was sent to the selectmen for their approval. Unfortunately, there's no books that record the selectmen meetings in 1930. They've been lost. Wow. So we don't, history is not perfect, I'm afraid. So, next thing, December 2024, at our request, State Rep Robin Comey requested and got the legal research memo that's before you that completely concurs with the town attorney that this is an activity for the RTM. The Short Beach Civic Association met, discussed the petition, submitted a letter in support of the petition, the first selectman, that was in January 25, requested that Jefferson Place be acknowledged and accepted as a town road and that the plowing resume. And then we submitted the petition to First Selectman Cosgrove, along with the association letter, requested a meeting. We held that meeting on January 21st, 25, and Selectman Cosgrove agreed to resume plowing and garbage removal and promised that the selectmen would act to acknowledge Jefferson Place as a town road so long as there was no contravening evidence that emerged in the next 90 days. Okay, so that's January. We'll, a promise to approve it as long as there's no contradictory evidence, right? So we then submitted additional historical evidence to him on the acceptance and waited over 90 days. And April through June, we repeatedly called the selectman's office, emailed the selectman's office, asked for a follow-up meeting, asked for a follow-up phone call, asked for something, never heard a word. So that brought us to September of 2025, where we submitted the petition to the RTM. The majority leader informed us probably properly that we had to wait until there was a new RTM seated, which brings us now to November, December, you guys being formed. So that's a little summation of what we've been through. It's been a fair amount. Again, I want to thank you all for taking action. I want to thank you for your support.
Kurt, one question.
Yeah.
It looks like you sort of wrote out the notes of what you just said. Is that a document where you could possibly?
Sure.
It's like a
Could you,
timeline, right?
can you
Little
email
timeline.
that to us so we
Yeah,
have it
Do
digitally?
that. Yeah.
And then we can
Happy to.
include that, Richard, in the
Yeah.
record.
Yeah, I'm glad my wife proofed it, so I won't be embarrassing myself. Okay, moving on. We have.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure.
So you said in 1930, all roads were approved,
All roads used by the public
right? Were approved.
were approved.
So, and all the documents are lost.
No, the document that documents that town meeting,
Yeah.
we have, it's gonna be submitted tonight, so you'll have it, okay? That proves that occurred at the town meeting,
Oh.
along with the language in the petition. What it also did though, just for completion, it stated that it would be sent to the selectmen for their final approval. And unfortunately, we discovered when we went to town hall that I think it was 1928 through 1934, all of those first selectmen records are gone. They don't exist now.
So,
But basically, 14 other town roads that are
Yeah.
maintained by the town that were used by the public in 1930 were accepted and are maintained by the town road, and is documented in this book by Jane. So thank God for Jane, because she did all this research on all the roads,
So
so that's
yours-
why we know.
yours is the only road that's been
Yeah, were
a
there any
problem?
other roads in Short Beach that were not?
Is
Not
any,
that we know of.
any other
I mean,
road presenting a
There
problem?
are many ways that town roads get accepted, and I'm not saying this is the only way in which Short Beach roads were accepted. There were many others that came later, right, that were done by individual petition, or much later, done through the normal subdivision and planning and zoning process. But remember, in 1930, we did not have planning and zoning, we were operating on a town meeting level, not even an RTM level, right?
I
Right.
think 14 roads that were accepted
Yes.
And they
in
are
that
s-
process.
And they're all fully viable
Yes.
today,
And they are all maintained by the town,
and yours isn't.
and ours is not.
I'm
Josh?
just gonna interject.
Interesting.
One could make an argument that Jefferson Place is a town road. He's gonna present you evidence that would say it's a town road. The concern that I have, and probably the concern that the petitioners have, is there's wiggle room that's open for interpretation. And so what I think this process will do is, in good faith, the town is saying, we recognize that this is a town road and should be a town road.
Absolutely.
And we're going to close any doubt, and we're gonna go through the normal process channels to make it, so I could say it's a town road, and nobody could really, you could argue with me, sure, but, I could say we're gonna plow, and we're gonna plow, right? We're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. But that doesn't make it an official town road.
Right.
So this process
No, I
eliminates that. So I think that is
Exactly
why we're here.
understand that
Yeah.
process. I'm just, when you said that other roads were involved in that one moment, and they're all fine,
That's right,
and yours isn't.
right.
I'm just trying to figure out
Including, by the way,
That's the crux of the
three.
problem
why. I'm
here.
just trying to figure out how they got left out of that
Well-
whole pool.
Well, we don't know,
We
I
don't quite
mean,
know.
remember, for many, many years, we believed it was a town road.
Yeah.
There's surveys that stated it was a town road, but we never knew for sure. And obviously, with one selectman's office and public works office and engineer, they stated that you're not a town road and we're not gonna plow you anymore. So we, as you were saying, first selectman, we wanna put this to bed
Okay.
and get it established once and for all.
When was the
Sorry.
last time it was paved?
I don't
1930.
know the answer to that. It's a long time ago.
That's the way it
It's
looks.
very,
But there was
it's very
patching that was
choppy,
done by the
yes.
town
It's
at
choppy
various
paving.
times. As a matter of fact, Dave, I know you used to call occasionally.
Yeah, I mean, we have, the road's not in great shape,
Right.
and
We
we
see
used to
that,
call
yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
hey, there's some potholes that could,
Yeah.
and they would come out and fill the potholes. I've never seen it paved, I've been there 28 years, it's never been redone.
But it was maintained
It was
at some
maintained.
level.
Right.
Yeah,
Maintained.
with
Okay.
some regularity, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm not promising I'm gonna pave it either.
Oh, you know, that's coming.
That's not, we're not here about paving it. We're here about whether it's a town road. So, we submitted to you, thank you again.
No, I'm not leaving, I gotta.
Oh, okay.
He's just, his briefcase is there.
We
He's a
had
hostage.
you were submitted a February letter. To this point, we have a lot of documentation to give you tonight to back up that letter, basically, and also documentation to answer several questions that the chair asked of us in December and January. So we're just gonna submit that. I'm not gonna go into all the
Okay.
details there.
Good.
There's a cover outline that talks about all the attachments.
Yeah, and if you want, if you want a copy of, if you all want a copy, at least a share of this cover memo, we can give that to you now, but
Yeah,
it's a lot of
We'll work on
documentation.
getting this all.
Including a lot of
digitized
surveys,
and
by the way.
We'll figure it out.
You have a whole bunch of
Yeah.
additional surveys of property
Are
owners.
those other surveys
up and
there?
down. So this is something I wanna share now and go over and talk a little bit about, which is the question of where did Jefferson Place end, right? Through this 1930 adoption process. So what I'd like to do is ask you two to share this one, and if you two could share this one. And if you two could share this one. And I'm
Sharing
going
is
to
caring.
have one for Josh as well.
I was in this is in that.
Okay, so we start off with a survey map which says attachment M on it, if you could open that up. And what you're looking at is a 1989 survey, okay, an old survey that's been superseded. But why did I use 1989 survey? It's because the historic homes that existed at Jefferson Place, which is the yellow, 53 Jefferson Place, the end of the road is 53, the yellow house, and 33 Jefferson Place, the green house, okay? We used an 89 because in 1989, the two historic structures existed there. So what I have is some notes here about that summarize our basic arguments that
Yellow house. green.
this road, Jefferson Place, extended down to 53 Jefferson Place in 1930, okay? So at the time of the petition, these two houses existed and the roadway extended all the way down, which according to Jane Booley would mean it's used by the public, and according to the petition, was used by the public and would be accepted by a town road. Just so you know, there's 3 other town roads that are short dead ends in Short Beach that according to Jane were accepted as town roads through this process.
Kurt,
Okay.
can I ask a question?
Sure.
We're looking at this drawing, right?
That's
Yes,
correct.
And the way I'm reading this, the extension across the green property is a right-of-way.
Well,
And a right-of-way to your
Yes,
house.
this this particular surveyor believed that Jefferson Place was a road, town road, and believed that this was an extension.
But where does it say that on this?
Well, I don't know.
I see.
I'm just assuming that, because he says Jefferson Place ends at that
Yeah,
location.
okay.
Where does it say that, though? I don't see.
Yeah.
I don't think it does say that here, I'm just sort of assuming that was his observation.
it goes.
Yeah.
So Jefferson
Stop right here.
Place, in my view, extended all the way down to 53 Jefferson Place at
So
the
they're talking
time
about
of
this. This
And then
one
the
goes down,
petition.
That's the corner.
And that goes
So
down.
I'm pointing out the conditions at the time of petition in 1930. And what's the evidence for this? If you look at the next document,
Can I ask a question?
sure,
Are you trying to keep that as your own, or are you trying to include that in the
we're
road?
trying to include it.
They would like Jefferson
We would
Place to
like
extend
to
down
extend all the
to
way.
the
Okay,
yellow,
I-
to the yellow
I
house.
just-
And
Yeah.
Josh, if you want to sit up here and look at this with me.
I just wasn't sure what side of the fence you were on.
No, we're definitely, and so is Mr.
Oh, okay.
Pequant here as
So you
well.
want that all to be road?
Correct.
All right, so you're not trying to claim that that's yours and
No.
that's road?
What,
Okay.
what that would mean, though, is that the property of this gentleman here would be two pieces. His property would not go across. He can't own Jefferson Road. So if Jefferson Road is a
Becomes a
town
road.
road, it's a town road, and the piece of property is now
Divided.
two pieces of property. You can't have a town road going across somebody else's property and have it be a town road. That's just,
Is the green,
we can discuss the
Property.
details of that later. That's
I
really,
think that's
I'm just
all
making a,
has to be. I mean, I think that some of this has to all be vetted out, and it's
Yeah.
a little, it's,
you
so.
could,
what
we
I-
could accomplish that
Right.
by negotiation.
Yeah, we'll figure that
Between
out.
the owners.
We'll
Okay.
figure that out. What I want to
Yeah.
stay on tonight
Okay.
is the fact that in 1930, that road ended down at the bottom by 53 Jefferson Place. And I'm giving you the evidence for that, and I'm going to go through it real quickly with you.
Okay.
The next item is a deed. It's a big deed. It says attachment 1 to M. What happened in 1924 is that Mr. Meeker sold the green area, 33 Jefferson Place, okay, to Mr. Edward S. Grinnell, okay, 1924, before the petition. So that's all that's the reason why we have this here, okay? And then if you look at the next document, attachment 2, 2M, these are,
Bogey Road.
everybody see the next document, attachment 2?
Hold on.
These are two telephone directories, one from 1928 and one from 1930.
This one?
And if you note, I've highlighted that both list Grinnell Edward S., same person who bought that property, as having a telephone on Jefferson Place. This is the only property that Grinnell owned. In 1928, you didn't have a phone, a portable phone, outside for no reason. You had it inside a home. It's pretty darn good evidence that 33 Jefferson Place was built prior to 1928. Okay?
Okay.
Additional reasons to believe that was the case is attachment 3. I'm just going to note that this is a series of aerial photos taken by the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut did a series of aerial flyovers, okay,
It's gotta be down here somewhere.
from 1934, all right? And the first one just shows the general area. What the area we're talking about, if you see my finger here,
Yeah.
it's on the Branford side and north of the Short Beach Road, right? Short Drive. Okay, the next page. What I do, and this isn't perfect because the 1934 photos are a little grainy, right? They didn't have great cameras in 1934 flying off those airplanes. But the top two circles
That's all.
are 53 Jefferson Place at top, and the next one down is 33 Jefferson Place, showing that in 1934,
These houses.
those two houses existed,
Yeah.
okay? Then we're gonna keep on going down, the next one, page, of photos shows a
Yep.
one house circle, that is 53 Jefferson, and the reason I know that is I'd like you to take out the next attachment, and this is the attachment that your chair sent out to you,
Yep,
which is the GIS, for the town.
yep,
And I point to where it is on the modern GIS, and then I ask you to take
yeah,
your survey, or your photo, I'm sorry, your 34 photo, and orient it the same way the bridge is going,
yep,
and just look at the number of little bays from the bridge moving north, and you'll see it's exactly the same for the current house as it is for this house. So there's no doubt that that house existed in 1934.
right,
Now, one could, and the last thing is the warranty deed for our house, which just shows, again, that Grinnell, Edward S. Grinnell, owned the property adjacent to us, just more proof of that. If you want to take a really strained argument, you could argue that, well, we don't know for sure that it wasn't built between 1930 and 1934. Just ask you to reflect a little bit about the history at that time. First of all, this property was held by, I'm talking about 53 Jefferson Place now, right? Was held by Meeker, okay? Meeker held on to it, sold the property next to him to Grinnell in 1924. I suspect what happened is they used some of that proceeds to build their house at 53. You could say, well, maybe they still built it between 30 and 34. That was the middle of the worst depression this country ever had. The real estate development absolutely, especially for residents, absolutely tanked during that time. I mean, you talk to any of your family, unless you were Rockefeller, people were on their back. So the probabilities are that 53 Jefferson Place was in fact built prior to 1930. The last thing I just wanted to let you look at, last picture with 2 red arrows, right? What I'm doing there is just showing you where to look on that photograph for Jefferson Place. What you can see is a faint line heading up from Shore Drive and then taking that left-hand turn, as it does today, down to 53 Jefferson Place. Now, there's a couple things. I don't believe this kind of evidence was available to any of these surveyors. These maps were only put up online by the University of Connecticut in the last, say, 5 or 7 years. When Larry Fisher, when all these people were doing surveying, it was before 2013 and earlier. It was at least 12 years old. They didn't have this available to them, okay? I mean, you could, if you were a surveyor and you want to drive up to Hartford and go to the state thing and then put in, and request and know where to look for the specific map, you could do it. But it's so easy to find it today. So that's an important part. And secondly, Jane Booley wrote her book in 2018. It was not available to Larry Fisher. It was not available to any of these surveyors, right? And if anybody knows the Fisher family, Chuck Fisher is the son. Chuck now works, I think, with the surveyor that the town works with.
Three Fingers
Chuck
North.
told me the only way you're going to know before we even discovered this book, the only way you're going to know anything about adoption of town town streets is to go to the old town meeting records and go through them. Well, that's exactly what Jane did, okay, in 2018, long after Larry had done his work. So the fact that there's maps, GIS maps, that indicate that the road ended here, or maybe ended there, first of all, there's been no agreement by the town for a long time whether this was a town road, but probably that opinion was based on surveyor input, pre-2013, 2012, before they had access to this information or before they had access to these aerial surveys. So, okay, I'm through. Yes?
Great presentation.
Were you guys plowed this last snowstorm?
Yes, we have
Okay,
been.
good.
And yeah,
Um,
you know, but we don't wanna have to go through this with
Yeah,
every
yeah, right.
selectman, you know, yeah.
I was born and raised in Short Beach, lived there for 50 years over on Burger Street.
Oh, yeah.
My family still is there. I've also worked for a refuse company that used to do that road for 20 years, and we always did it.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was a road anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
And so did
But
we.
to kind of put some context to 53, or the house at the end,
Yeah.
when it caught on fire at one point.
Yeah.
It was, at that time, it was balloon frame construction.
Yeah.
Balloon frame construction went out in the 40s. So it was between the 18-something and the 1940s that house was there.
So you're supporting this
I'm
argument?
absolutely supporting it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah.
So
It's
that's,
just, I
you know,
think
my
details gotta get
only
hammered
point
out.
about this is that, you know, there's other evidence that the road existed, right? And we include that in our letter of February, including the fact that there's, you know, there's utilities on the road, and the town never had an easement for those utilities, right? You don't need an easement over your own property, right? So one would assume.
I mean,
it was down,
I
et
think
cetera.
that all this information you've given us is great, great
Okay.
resources. We'll get it
Great,
scanned in. It'll all be available to the town and to Chris Colo if they're doing the surveying work.
yeah,
Is backup. The only thing I would point out is that two things. I think whether the ultimate designation of where Jefferson Place ends runs down to your house or not is a matter that can be negotiated with the town. There may need to be some legal documents and transfers to accomplish that. The mere fact that the house existed back in the 30s, and from my point of view, and even that there was a road, might appear on a aerial roadway going down to it, doesn't really definitively say whether it was a private right-of-way, a town road, a private road. It's not a legal piece of evidence, it's just a visual piece of evidence of what existed at a period of time. And it very well could be that there was a right-of-way down to your house
Oh, there
across
was.
the other property.
and they were right away, you know, in the
But-
Jefferson Place at that time, all of Jefferson Place was a right of way to anyone further down the street. The entire roadway was a private right of way. And, you know, some of the material
That's what the.
that we submitted with surveys state
That's
that.
not even there.
So
Oh, no.
all of our roads that were private in 1930 had right-of-ways on
This is
them.
the corner.
You know, they had
This is where it presently
to allow
stops.
people further down the street to have access.
This
But,
kind of-
you know,
that's
when the
house that
petition
he lives in.
was
That's
passed
where the other guy lives.
and the town accepted the road, then it became a town road. Now, I'm not saying that, you know, it's all done to the standards that it is today, absolutely not, you know, but that
I mean,
was basically.
again, the question of where it ended still would be sort of up in the air, even if they had accepted Jefferson Place as a road and there was never any issue of it, there still might be an issue about where it ended. That definitively, and the key in my mind from a legal surveying point of view, the key issue would be if the piece of property to your house, I mean, if the roadway leading to your house is going across this gentleman's piece of property, and his deed indicates that it's all his property,
You just paid taxes on
then
it.
by process of elimination, it can't be a town road because it's not separated off. It's a right-of-way, but it's not a town road.
Well, it
so
is
that-
it's granted as a right-of-way.
It's
But we
granted
can-
as a right-of-way. So,
Yep.
figuring this out, I think that we're all on the same page, that we'd like to see this happen.
Yeah.
And we're all on the same page, that we'd
Just
like to
so we're not
understand
ridiculous.
exactly what we're getting into here in terms of the physical nature of it. And
Hammer out the
I think we're
details.
probably all in agreement that if it can be worked out how to make the road go down to your piece of property
Great.
legally, that would be desirable. That may require some
Yeah.
machinations, but those, all the objectives I think
I
we're
think we're
in
ready
line
to
with.
do some machinations, right?
You know, so, so it's just a matter of understanding in more legal detail
Yes.
what we're dealing with
Sure.
through surveys, and then understanding if things have to be adjusted, how to do it, and make it all work.
Yeah.
And that may take a little bit of time,
Yeah.
but we're all, I think, willing to, if Josh has stepped up to the plate and says he'll work on the survey, which is, in my mind,
Fantastic.
great for you.
It's fantastic for us.
It needs to come back,
Yeah. So
it needs to
it
come
would-
back solved.
This is yours.
So pretty much it would come back to us
solved.
resolved.
Yeah, it has to come back resolved,
Yeah.
because,
We
you know,
can
we
do
we
that.
can't, we can't
No, I
hear,
was just getting, all
We can
getting
do that.
mixed up.
we can't do stuff that's outside of our purview.
Yeah.
Absolutely,
A
yes.
couple of curiosities. It seems that 306, like is land, it can only get to its property by boat.
Who's that?
The one at the end of Jefferson.
Oh.
How do they leave?
The one by the
They
bridge
don't-
has a
They don't
dock.
have any boat access, this is all tidal wetlands, so they can't fill it, so they don't actually have any access to the water.
They're on Clark Avenue.
They're in Clark Avenue.
Oh, but how do they get to this, because their property ends here?
Oh, that's an interesting question. They have a shared driveway over here. They have a right to that driveway.
And then this, is this public access?
Okay, that's the question about Owens Place, and we do have, we submitted to you in that Owens Place is a right-of-way shared by
The
these
adjacent
three
owners.
properties surrounding it.
Right.
Yeah.
So the deed,
Yeah, my only concern
deed-
about that is to make sure it was separated off from what we're calling Jefferson Place. That the designation of Jefferson Place, that was not part of.
I
That, you know,
don't, I
that's,
don't believe it was,
and
but.
that's
you know.
fine. It sounds like that was
The book says
owned,
it was never developed.
shared
it was
ownership
never-
between the other properties. And as you say, there's no, or you can see, there's really no roadway, even a pathway.
There's
Right.
nothing, it's just,
There's nothing there.
Just
It's- I
lawn.
mean,
So-
you know, I shouldn't say that.
There's some trees there.
There's some trees there.
yeah.
So I would suggest that somebody make a
Motion to
recommendation
re-refer.
motion that we ask the RTM to re-refer this
Motion to re-refer.
indefinitely
Yeah,
until
until we get it resolved.
Second.
get this resolved.
Yeah,
Everybody in
Who's
favor?
first?
Yes.
aye,
Aye.
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 Thank you very much for coming, and we'll
Thank
work
you.
on getting
Thank
this
you.
resolved.
A lot of work.
Work.
Yeah.
All right, well, go Jane Gooley, that's all I have to say.
Oh, and she couldn't be here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just details that need to be hammered out on it.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna find when we get survey information that there are a lot of encroachments.
Yes.
Are they arguing themselves as to who owns what? So
No, I don't think so.
I think everybody's on the same page here, but I think there may be differences of opinion about what constitutes legal.
And I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
I
yeah.
think cutting
The same sort of thing.
property in half just hit home.
Yeah, that's
yeah,
a
because
problem.
that's what I'm looking at.
But that would have
That's
to
why I
be
said
done.
come back with it resolved.
I mean, you can't have a town road going
Yeah, correct.
legally across somebody's private property.
We
Right,
got 10 minutes before this.
So,
We have a lot of
Can we,
questions.
before you, can you make a motion to, move item number 7 to item number 6? That's what they're here for.
Oh, what is?
well, six is gonna be re-referred.
we can, I don't care about the order, we
Quick
can,
read for
if you
item
want to,
number
yeah. I have a, somebody would like to make a motion that we shift the order from,
Motion to shift
6 and
6 to 7.
Second.
Just do it.
everybody in favor of that?
Aye.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda
Seven.
This is silly.
Two of them.
is to consider and if appropriate recommend the establishment of a town ordinance to limit the use of gas-fired leaf blowers and encourage alternatives. And I attached the request to the agenda. The first item on our, from our point of view, I think, is to establish a working group to take up this issue. And I think, Richard, you already agreed that you might be
Yes.
part of that group. And you indicated that you might be part of that group.
Absolutely.
Who do you, how many
So-
do you need?
3.
Do you wanna wait to see, cause he doesn't,
He indicated that he would accept the designation
if he gave it to him?
If we gave it to him.
Okay.
So would you like to do it that way? So we got Ralph, Sean, and Richard as the working group?
Yeah, just give it an option.
Okay, I mean.
Cause he's not on a working group now, right? Cause the fire is done.
Yeah, it's done.
So
that's
I'm
fine.
on the tax one.
Yeah, you're in a big one.
I'm on the
so
tax one, so we could give him.
That's fine. So the three of, I'll take a motion to establish that as a working
I
group.
second it.
Who made the
Whatever.
motion?
And
She
One
can
of
make
us.
the move in, and
Okay.
I'll second.
so that'd be Richard and Sean
Sean
and Ralph
Right.
would be on that working group.
Okay.
And I have some thoughts about the procedures, which I can take up with the working group at a later date, but I would like people just to put in their thinking caps the fact that this is one that seems appropriate possibly to have a survey done, as we did with the short-term rentals, because there are a lot of issues on both sides of this one.
Didn't this come through us already once?
Yep.
And it was.
You and I were, I think, on it.
It was
It was take no action, I believe.
It was
took
take no action.
We took no action at that
Which
point.
is,
Yeah. And it's
So
been
why
brought
is
up
this
again.
coming up again?
Can
Because
I,
it's coming up again. It's
can
been
I,
asked.
can I
Do it.
and I think we
voice
should
some
take
opinion
no
on
action.
this?
Yes.
I was approached about this, not only in the campaign, but also post-election. That this was something that people, there was this group of people that felt that this is a necessity for the well-being of not only the environment, but the people that use gas-fired leaf blowers.
And the people that listen to them.
And people that listen to them. I made some statements to some of those folk that I was against this. I don't want to use the word dead set, but 100% against any ordinance limiting the use of gas leaf blower blowers, especially when it comes to commercial use. There's a million reasons why making a ordinance limiting the use of gas leaf blower it's just not feasible. So part of, I think, why it came to you all is because I made my position very clear. That it didn't come through me, it came right to you. So I would say, you guys gotta do your due diligence, that's fine. I would say a couple things on this. One, that as you do your due diligence, you need to keep in mind that this is how people make their living. And while yes, there is reasonable belief that there's reasonable science that says this may not be great for one's health. We don't ban smoking, we don't ban drinking, and we don't ban pot smoking. And all of those things are clearly bad for your health. A person's got to make a choice, right? Do I want to make a living, or do I want to worry about if I'm going to be alive when I'm 80? And the answer is I want to eat today. I don't care about what 80 is. If there is any traction at all, it would be my belief that we don't put the burden of this on the working class people that do this for a living. If you want to do anything, you can put it on the residents themselves. And then I would also urge you to consider enforcement and how much of an uphill push that would be as well. So that's just my thought on it.
So we've heard the opposition point of view to begin with.
So this is
Yeah.
why it was
I mean,
DOA
the same issues that we
before.
had
Yeah.
when we talked about it before.
I'm not saying don't do any work on it.
No,
I'm just telling you my position about it.
no.
My position isn't going to change. It's just not going to change. But
Do you have veto power? if we
What?
pass- Do you have veto power
No.
if we pass it?
no, but
No.
I mean, the selectmen would be tasked to enforce it.
Now, I was elected ignorant of it. I never thought about gas-powered leaf blowers in my life. I heard them, and it would sound, it was like
Well, we're going to hear,
but I've become a convert, just to be transparent with everyone in the room, is, one, couple of things that you said. I mean, there's some evidence that the transition to battery powered and for landscapers is pretty reasonable. And
It's
actually-
It's not.
It's not.
Economically,
not at all.
It's not even close to economically viable.
Yeah.
You could have I have a battery powered leaf blower.
I do too. I bought one.
I have
accidentally.
5 batteries,
Yeah.
and I have a postage stamp of a thing. So I can use 2 batteries to do my postage stamp of a yard. 2 batteries. Each battery costing me approximately $270. While I use the one battery, I bring my other battery inside and charge it. So now I've got my other one and charging. But now if you're a landscaper and you're out there making your living, you
Hiking.
have to now,
Charge.
not only do you have to bring with you, let's say
39 batteries.
8 batteries at $300 a piece, that's $2,400.
Yeah.
But you also have you have to bring the ability to charge those batteries while you're doing your work. So nobody is looking at that piece of it. That just because you buy enough batteries to get you through a 4-hour period or whatever that is, and some of the people behind me, the man, I don't think he ever is home. I honestly don't. He's always out working. So, but you need to have the ability to charge that while you're going
With a gas-powered generator.
with some
With a
sort
gas
of,
powered generator.
So-
That's right. That's what I
so-
wrote down. Generator.
all I'm asking, well, what I'm saying and what I'm asking is that and the reason why that when I had that meeting and to now, because these are the points I raised, they can't be answered. They can't be answered logically. How do you address those folk?
They have been addressed by other towns, so. So I
Well,
think
all of those bands,
Yeah.
if we're being honest, all of those bands are on a limited. They're limited in their bands.
Well, that's what we need to look at. I mean, I think,
That's fine.
in all fairness,
The whole
they're,
state of California.
they're 2 pretty extremely
We all know
divergent
California's a little
points.
weird.
Yeah,
No, they also don't have seasons.
they're,
True.
They don't have seasons.
Sure they do. They got
They do
flood
not
season,
lose
they got
leaves like
fire
we do.
season, flood season.
They don't lose.
hold
leaves
on.
like
They don't have
Josh,
fall.
please, I'm speaking.
Yeah, well, let me just say, for the record, I got a $179 blower, battery blower with the battery included. I'll give you the source. I'll give
Again.
you some money.
This
So-
is what I do for a living.
Okay.
Or did.
Hold off on the conversation for the moment. This is obviously, there are a lot of quite divergent points of view for and against this whole idea, and it's not just a single issue. It's not just a single issue of health. It's not just a single issue of the environment or noise. There are a whole range of somewhat separate issues here. And there have been some towns in Connecticut that have tried to address this partially. There have been other efforts to address it from a noise issue and not from a health and that type of issue. And I think in fairness to the fact that this has been put on our table, we need to at least look at some of the evidence first before we do a final on it.
Due diligence.
And gather information, get a better understanding of the experience of other towns and whatever their limited types of ordinances might have been, get a better understanding of, I know the state, for instance, had a replacement program a couple of years ago where they would actually subsidize the shift from gas to batteries, which I don't think is in effect now.
Gee, I don't know why.
At this point. But I think that we need to at least run through the steps and look at the issues from both points of view and what's been done from both points of view, and realize that there are a series of separate components to this. It's not just a singular one, and we could address, for instance, if it was just noise that we wanted to address, we could address it as part of the noise ordinance and maybe put some time restrictions on when the equipment was used. So you could parcel it out and deal with it in different ways. But again, and also, you know, I gather that the group it's here is the group that feels that it's not a good idea to have this type of an ordinance. The people that were proposing this, I specifically told or recommended that they not show up tonight because I felt that I didn't want to have this be the opening salvo of everybody's opinion of, you know, the pros and cons. I said, we're going to establish a group, you know, to look at it. Come to the next meeting. We'll give you a chance to present your thoughts and points of view in next meeting. So I would hope that you would come to the next meeting, you know, and express your points of view too. But you know, the one thing I think we do need to do is the working group needs to do is a little bit of due diligence in terms of vetting out both sides of this equation and what, you know, looking at what other people, what other localities have done as a way of resolving some of it or not. And then we can decide whether we think it's something we, again, as in last time, we're just not going to address or.
Nope, it was
or what.
take no action.
But, you know,
Which
I think,
is,
you know, times do change. It's hard to mandate by law changes in behavior, which may be good, desirable changes in behavior. And there are some that, you know, it's unworkable to make regulations and laws to change behavior, even though it may be existential behavior. You know, and we have to do that by education and other means to get people slowly to move. I mean, the group that's going to come in next week is going to tell us that really we shouldn't be blowing leaves at all because that's bad for
Well, we already had that
you know, the
conversation.
animals and the butterflies and the various things that live
Make
in
the
the
grass
leaf,
grow.
you know, et cetera. You know, but that certainly is not compatible with the idea of having any kind of blowers. And we're not going to tell people they can't, you know, can't clean their lawns, even though that might be the best thing for us all. We're just not going to do it.
It'll be fun.
I happen to be dead set against this, so perhaps maybe I should remove myself from the working group. I mean, I will stay on, but I am totally against it. I am not.
But that's part of the process.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
That's fine.
part of it is you listening to
Absolutely.
some of the
I'll
alternatives. that
be
maybe
more than
you're
willing to
not
listen
up
to
with.
anybody who wants to say anything.
Part of it is, you know, maybe you can be supportive in doing some research on why it's, you know, not feasible, talking to the landscapers
Okay.
that are in the business, et cetera. So I don't think that disqualifies you.
Oh, yeah, I don't think you have to recruit
Have
yourself.
It'll be a lesson.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can bounce me out.
Yeah, just don't get into any fights.
I will say this,
Yeah.
after seeing this come up, I have both. I started them both. Oh, I pulled the trigger on one and started the other. And you know what? There's not much noise difference. They're both pretty loud. So,
Now, I have electric only because gas is messy. So, and I just have and that cord drives me insane. So I see all
you have
sides.
old time electric.
I have the stupid
Yeah, my
cord.
electric
'Cause-
is as loud as any gas blower.
yeah, it's loud, and I have two of them, and they're loud.
I
But
have the battery powered, it's not loud, it's easy to use,
my
and
new
it was
one.
cheap.
well, I have a battery weed whacker.
But again, that's
Yeah.
one component. That's
So-
the noise
no, I get
aspect of it.
Right.
I
You
understand.
know, so, at any rate, I do think we ought to go through some due diligence on the working group side. I do think we ought to let both sides of this equation express in a little more detail what their information is, background thoughts, et cetera. And we could decide either go a little deeper into the weeds or just end it. But we'll have a discussion on that later. We all okay with that?
Yes.
So do I have a
Mr.
motion to
Chairman, can I ask one
re-refer?
thing?
Yes.
Nobody's approving anything.
The next time we come back, these folks have had to sit in the back and listen to us talk about lots of other things, so maybe the next time.
Maybe we
can
could put them up
higher-
front.
Higher up on the
Well,
menu.
we've taken care of two of the.
Yeah, two of them are.
Yeah. So,
Sometimes
yeah,
it's
I'll
interesting.
put them
It was
at the
very
beginning.
interesting.
Yeah, what you
Gotta
hear.
know- Gotta know how it all works. I haven't been here, so
Just saying.
just gotta know how it works.
This is your first meeting?
So,
Wow.
Richard, did we have a motion or not?
We
To
refer?
Refer this.
Do you have it?
I wrote re-refer down, but who made?
Okay,
the
who
motion?
made a motion? Did you?
I'll make a motion to
I'll second.
re-refer this.
Second, okay.
All right.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
So that's re-referred.
Okay, which means it'll come back.
So,
I'll put my email address down.
Please.
Yeah.
Yeah, do,
I'd hate to miss another fun meeting, guys.
put your email on there.
I'll take care of that.
Well, we
Okay.
can meet, but I'll still put the email.
Okay, last building.
Last item, we have,
Yeah, you have.
We already got a
Time
hard,
for
yeah,
this.
sorry, guys.
Good night.
Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming.
to consider it appropriate, recommend the establishment of a town ordinance to allow a senior property tax freeze for certain qualified senior Branford homeowners. And we did establish in our previous meeting that Trish, John, and myself would be on the working group to do that. And that group has had one Zoom call to sort of get started without a lot movement forward. And John, give me this very quick summary.
Sure, so this is a very complex proposal. The town already has a couple of programs that seniors are eligible for. We need to delve more into that and understand all of it that's available. There are other towns in Connecticut which have done a senior tax freeze, so we obviously need to spend more time with them. Questions are, and this is not an exhaustive list, but how old would someone have to be? Would there be an income limit? Would there be a period of time in which they had been in Branford? And if so, how would that be? In some towns, like in Guilford, the longer you're here, the more you're qualified for. So one would have to look at things like that. Again, this is a very complex operation. And another thing which comes into play in the current ordinance that we have around the tax programs that are in place is that there's an overall cap of the amount of money that could be lost to the town in tax revenue from this, and right now it's set at 0.5% of the taxable, of the taxes coming in, not the budget, but the taxes. So that right now, and there are other towns who have higher caps. So all of these issues need to be looked at and understood, and then we need to come to some kind of consensus, if there is going to be one, about what we want to do going forward.
So, quick, so the cap is presently an ordinance, so whatever we do, it can't be.
No, the cap is applied only to the ordinance, which is talking about one of the tax
Right,
So it
programs
wouldn't be
for
automatically.
elderly
no,
and disabled people. We can make whatever cap we might decide is appropriate for this particular program, if we do it. I mean, I think Trish, one of the things Trish was particularly concerned with is actually two aspects of the same thing. Number one, what kind of liabilities are we possibly exposing the town to in terms of lost revenue?
Mhm.
And that's obviously a key question that needs to be answered. The idea of putting a cap on it, I think, allows some circuit breaker on the maximum impact it could have. The other part of that question, which property owners are going to start to realize and ask, is if we're freezing taxes for certain people, i.e. they're paying less tax, that means that more tax burden is going to get shifted to everybody else.
Mhm.
And so the measurements we have to look at are the measurements, how a cap might be defined and what the numbers might be. And with that cap, what would be the maximum additional tax burden that would then be imposed? Would it be 0.25% of their taxes or half, whatever the number is? That's an easy measurement once you've gone through everything else to determine. But those two things, I think, are pretty key to helping people that feel uncomfortable with the impact.
The impact.
Need to be answered. There are a lot of towns that have these programs in place in a whole variety of ways. And one of the things that the working group needs to do, I think, is to do the research, gather information about how other people have done it and how that's worked out, so that we're not starting from scratch with ideas. And then the third component is with these measurements that John is talking about, that define qualification. Once we have the categories that we're looking at, then we have to look at each individual one and what are the numbers are, what's the age, what's the income level, what's the property value, et cetera. We have to establish that, because until we have all that, we can't tell what the impact, and then we have to figure out how to apply it, because we don't really have the tax-based data directly to just plug it in and say it's gonna mean this. So we have to, there's gonna have to be some research on establishing what that might actually be.
There
Now,
also
the
has to-
tax cap still maintains a topping on it, but,
Right, it also has to have a conversation of one's net worth.
no, yes, it's not just income level, it's
It's
what
not
are
just
your
income.
assets.
It's including the home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all of those things are,
Don't we already have a program, the Gold Star program?
We have a deferred,
we have a
Deferred,
couple of
right?
different
Okay.
We have
programs
3
on
different
taxes,
programs. One is
Well-
for veterans.
yep,
One is a state mandated program
Right.
that we match in, and then the deferral program. One of the things that I think I may do here in the next month or so is come to the RTM. So the RTM passed the deferral program. I think it was kind of in response. They used to have a sort of tax freeze program, which ended many years ago. And this was a response to that. So the deferral program, I think I would like to, I'm trying not to just dump on you all, but
Why not?
in
Everybody else does.
08, 09, they passed the deferral program, and that cap on your income is something like $56,000. So I actually was hoping that I will bring to the RTM the change of that ordinance. I read the ordinance, so I know where it is, so it's easy for me to find it and get it to you. That we change that amount, raise that amount, it's a lot different, right?
Inflation.
What $56,000 isn't equivalent, maybe $80,000 is equivalent to what $56,000 was then. But I need to do more research, because there are some levels of that deferment program as far as income and the interest rate you pay. But I'll do some more research, and then I may bring that to the RTM in the interim to raise the increase on the deferment program. If we're being honest with each other, which I think we all tend to be, is there's really only 10 people that utilize the deferment program. But I'm not saying that it's not a valuable thing.
It's valuable to them.
Yeah, right, so,
And it doesn't hurt
but I
us.
think adding to that, adding the age, or the income level, raising the income level, I think is a little bit more, along the lines of inflation of some aspects, so I'll do some research on that, and then at some point, if not next month, the month after, bring it to this body.
and
to
in the long range,
make
it
some
doesn't,
changes.
long term, it doesn't affect us
no,
No.
negatively, so
no.
we could, that would be an easy, relatively easy one.
Yeah, I think it would be, and not that controversial,
Yeah.
but, so.
Because it's already in place, you're
But
just
I
approving.
you're just adding
You're
the,
approving
you're just changing that number, but I wanted to give you a heads up while we're talking about it, cause it's still gonna come to you all, on the heels of all the other stuff, but, so that's,
We got rid of 2
So
things
the-
tonight
well, let's just, well, you
So we
you
have
don't have to
room
deal with,
for more things.
Oh, yeah, we got the fire thing out, yeah.
you won't have to deal with the road thing for a while.
Yeah.
Good question. I mean, the thing that I have a hard time, in terms of the arithmetic of, because it's a tax freeze we're talking about.
This one's
So
a
if
tax
you're
freeze.
paying X number of dollars today, you're gonna pay that next tax year, next.
In
tax-
perpetuity.
It's not like it goes-
Forever.
It goes to
Right.
zero.
Right,
So-
and it's a deficit to the town, because you never recover it.
Never
Right.
recover. I mean, the reality is it's going to cost the taxpayers money. Nobody's pretending otherwise.
It's not a
But we
deficit
ran
to
on
the
no-
town.
We ran on no increased
Why?
taxes.
It's a shift, it's not a deficit to the town.
Well, to the town itself, it's a deficit to the
The revenue. The
Is-
revenue.
Yeah,
The
it's a
revenue,
shift- it's
the
a shift
revenue
in
is
tax
shifts.
Right.
To
The
other
revenue
people.
shifts, yes, of course, to other people, but it's not a deficit to the
Right.
town, that's what I'm
It's-
I'm
it's-
trying to say.
No, I
here.
get it, but
You're
it,
right,
it
you're
shifts
right.
to other
Okay.
people.
It shifts to other
It's
people.
deficit to the townspeople.
The town stays whole
Yeah,
as long as, because there's a grand list
Mhm.
and a mill rate, and
Yeah.
that's how much money you get
You're
in
right, it's a
taxes.
shift, we're talking about a
Right,
shift,
right,
which
I
gets
mean,
back to the original.
The revaluation
Two
we
thi-
just
two
went
things.
through
that's my
was a
concern,
huge
is
shift.
shifting somebody else's
How
bills
much
onto
commercial
somebody
is
else.
that
To
shift?
residential. So,
That's-
I mean, we've gone through shifts before, we just went through one.
So we're talking about a tax freeze, which would, if they're paying just $4,000 in taxes, that's what they're gonna be paying
In
from
perpetuity,
here in
till
perpetuity.
they die,
Right.
or leave their house.
I get the sense that it levels out about 10 years. It takes about 10 years and it levels out. So
Levels
people
out.
get on it, and then in 10 years, those people
You're saying the
start
people that
dropping
are
off.
dropping off are the same
And
as
then, but
about
new
the,
people are coming on.
yeah.
So I get the sense
So
that it's
it
around
ramps
10
up
years,
until 10 years.
Dropping
and
off
then
or
it just
drops down.
plateaus.
Dropping off or dropping dead?
Well,
we don't-
whatever.
But,
You
but,
either go
so
to a
they-
nursing home,
that-
you die, you move
I
in
think
with your
that
in-laws,
is-
you know.
That is, there are two things. One, what that would be, you know, let's just pick an arbitrary number. I like to say $400,000 is somewhere in that neighborhood. I did some math, some
What's,
group was the amount of money that would be shifted is around, I think, around $400,000.
in taxes?
And what year
What?
though?
That
In income.
It was
So,
some
Yeah.
years
so
ago.
Josh, I'm working on
Town
the
income.
spreadsheet I
Revenue.
wanna share
Right.
with you,
And
so,
then-
But-
so
That's a
let's,
lot.
let's not
Right.
talk
Everybody
numbers
else
Well,
tonight,
spread
because
that out,
But
but
the
that's-
the other
That's a lot.
piece of this
I didn't
that
think
I
it was that
think
much.
that matters is the qualifications. I think that's an important piece of this.
That's a very
that-
important
But
piece.
but not. It needs to be a simple. Where some of the other towns have gotten into trouble is the complexity.
right,
Simplicity is
It's
the key.
key.
Yeah.
yeah, and I've been saying that in our
Right.
working
I
group,
agree.
and I
Simplicity
say,
is
I agree
important.
with the simplicity, but it has to be fair.
I'm not-
Absolutely.
But Guilford, for example,
With all the tiers
has
they
a
have.
hard time
yeah,
because of the different
Levels.
right.
it's
Yeah.
income levels, it's longevity levels,
Right.
all of these things. Somebody's got to track all that.
I know, that's the other thing.
Right.
The
Another
tax department has to track all
deferment
that.
another deferment program would cost the town more, correct?
No,
What do you mean
No.
another deferment?
Well, if you,
Deferment
instead
doesn't
of a
cost-
tax freeze, if you just tax deferment and, 10 years, they drop off for whatever reason, usually it's death.
they get
No,
the
no,
town
no.
Then
gets
the
all
town-
that money back.
The town loses nothing through a tax deferment program, because you still owe the taxes,
It gets attached to the
And
house.
you-
It gets attached to the house, right?
and you
okay.
and you owe interest
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a
Okay.
lien.
So tax
It's like a lien.
deferment is like, it's not free to you.
It's like a loan.
Yeah.
It's a loan.
It's a loan.
Basically,
Lien,
yeah, it's like
loan.
a second
It's like a
mortgage
second
or
Like a
whatever.
reverse
Exactly.
mortgage.
Yeah, right,
And
exactly.
there is a lien put on the house.
Right.
The downside is
So they have to
if
pay
you have
that.
a mortgage or something, you can't. Most times you
With
can't
the
get the tax deferment.
Because the mortgage company wants
Will
their
not
money.
allow
Right.
you to put a lien on the home.
Right.
So you have to own your home outright.
You have to own, that's part of the,
So
that's
this
part of the
is- This is a
equation.
completely different
It's a very
concept.
different program.
But there's a lot to be looked at,
So much,
and we're gonna do that,
so much.
yeah.
But
So,
I'm working on it. I got a
Okay,
big file in my
so
office.
Do I
I
have
make
a
a
motion
motion that we.
to-
I make a motion to adjourn.
Wait, no, we
Now,
have to
again?
re-refer this.
Re-refer, we have to re-refer first.
Okay.
No.
Second, who's seconding it?
Who first? did?
Susan.
I did, I
John?
first did.
Susan? Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Re-referring
Aye.
this?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Okay.
everybody in favor. Any other business?
Well, I just had this one thing in addition to the freeze thing. There was this thing about where the government was gonna do something like a tax. If you would pay zero property tax, wiping out fixed costs for people that were 65 and over. So let's just say hypothetically, the federal government says, we're gonna subsidize for the seniors. So let's say the government does that. Would that put our stuff out of business?
Well, it'd be quite a. You want to talk about shifting a burden?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That gets
Well, you're
deferred over
saying
to everybody.
You're saying that if the federal government started to subsidize,
Yeah, gave all the seniors, because they're talking about the seniors that are having a problem paying their taxes.
Yeah, well,
So it's like, let's just say in a blue sky world that the government says, okay, you
if
get
they
what you want.
subsidized everybody, we wouldn't need any of these programs.
So that's what I'm saying.
So
So
you
all
could
of these
at
other
any
things all go
point-
away.
What do you think the possibility of that happening is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
purple sky.
But to your point, at any time, the RTM should vote to suspend any ordinance. As much
Suspend.
We could reverse it.
You could suspend the ordinance.
Mm.
So I talked about there was once a tax freeze. I've never seen what that looked like,
Me
but it
neither.
existed. Cause there's in this research, there was a gentleman who owned all of this bunch of property, and he was like 98 and was still late into like 80s or 90s, was still on that program. I
Wow.
don't know the exact specifics of it, but at any point, you could suspend that ordinance.
Do we, did you keep, what am I keeping
I
this?
don't think so, I think.
You
Sure.
may- you
We
may.
have, that's a copy you gave to all of us. I have a copy of it.
Okay.
So I don't need, you can keep that.
I'll put it in my
throw it
file.
away.
Thank you, Josh.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Who made it?
Aye.
Aye.